Hello everybody, welcome to my Count Dooku Starcards breakdown video. This video, for those of you new, is going to cover all 9 of Count Dooku's star cards individually, and there'll be like test footage that I got from each card to show like how much the card helps, how much it does, if it's worth running in your opinion. So you should have a good idea of what all 9 do by the end of this video. So stick around till the end if you want to see like card setups that I recommend. But with that being said, I'll go ahead and get started. This first card is Sith Control. Okay, so with Sith Control, the description is Count Dooku can regenerate 120 extra health. So this is similar to the cards that Obi-Wan and General Grievous also have, but Dooku's is the best because for the other people it just gives him 100, but for Dooku he gets 120. So it takes his normal regen from 250 and all the way up to 370, which is like almost half of his health. So this is a really good card, especially since Dooku's not like the fastest hero. So having like I know I use this card a lot, and I know there's a lot of times where I've been at like 60, 70, 80 health with Dooku, and I run away and survive, and I would have died if I didn't have this card equipped. So this card is a really good like safety net for Dooku. You can be more risky with him when you're trying to like take on groups of enemies with Duelist or something. You know that you'll have an extra 120 in case you run into trouble. Like if a ton of grenades lower your health or something, then you have more health to spare. So Sith Control is pretty basic. It's just more health regen, but it's a really good card. Alright, so next up is Finesse, and Dooku has the same problem with this card that Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Luke also have, where the card is totally way off. It lies with how much you really get, because like for Anakin and Obi-Wan, for example, it says you max out 40 extra stamina, but it's actually 70%. And Luke's is the same as Dooku. Instead of, it says you get 35% more, but you actually get 60% more. So yeah, Luke and Dooku, just like Luke, it's 60% actually instead of 35. So, because the way you know it's 60 is if you times 14, which is how many times he can normally attack and block, so 14 times 0.6, which is 60%, you get 22. So it's actually 60%. So the description should technically say Count Dooku gains 60% less stamina for blocking and attacking. So this is an amazing card if you're like trying to hero showdown, or also what I found is it helps Dooku kind of cover ground because you can block more bullets or lightsaber attacks if you're trying to cover ground, since he's a little slower, and you'll have more stamina to attack after you've been blocking. So again, it buffs his attacking and blocking by 8, up from 14 to 22. So a really good card for Count Dooku's lightsaber attacks. Okay, next up is Blind Spot, and this card I always was confused by because I always thought that it increased the range of your lightning. So I was like, oh, this is great because he doesn't have the most range on his lightning. But what I found out was that it actually only increases the range to the side of Dooku. So that's what I put in the yellow text. It increases the angle, not the range. So that first test was with Blind Spot equipped, and I just put this clone trooper standing on this light on the ground, and then Dooku as far away as I could, where you could still see like the red one on the lightning logo, like he was in range. And then so this here without it, I'm pretty much in the same exact spot that I was with the card, and I'm still able to hit him. So it's just showing basically that the range doesn't increase, sadly. It just increases the angle to the side of Dooku. So like if there's enemies like really far to the side, or if they're in front of you and they dodge to the side, you'll still be able to get them. And that's what I'm showing in this test here. It's actually kind of cool because you can kind of like, I don't want to say it's like chain lightning from the Emperor, but it's kind of like you can kind of like, people aren't expecting you to hit him. Like he's to my side, I'm not even looking straight at him, and I'm still able to hit that clone with lightning. So the blind spot doesn't increase the range, but it increases the angle. Alright, so now it's superiority. Expose weakness is active on enemy targets for 2 extra seconds. So you can see this is just without the card equipped, is 5.5 seconds that they're exposed, and the enemies are exposed to any damage. It's not like just Dooku. So, and then this one is with superiority, so it's an extra 2 seconds. So this is really nice because weakness also slows down people. So I know I've liked to expose like jetpack guys who are flying away from me because it like makes them fly a little less far. And so this part here, I'm just showing, a lot of people don't know this. I actually didn't know this, but so like officers and Yoda are examples I'm showing in this test. When they give themselves health buffs, if you hit them with weakness, it just totally gets rid of it. I mean, maybe some people knew that, but I didn't know that, so I just wanted to include that here with the test. So you can see it actually hurts Yoda more, because if you hit him with weakness right after he does presence, the cooldown is still going for presence, so he's kind of just stuck. So yeah, really good. Alright, so with initiative, you might have to go back and replay this a few times, but I did a lot of tests that I didn't include in this because some of the results were inconsistent and it was kind of hard to test. But basically what I found was it is 15 seconds between critical hits, and what I put there on the side, the critical hit crosshair, that's your little crosshair in the middle. There'll be like a ring around it when you have a critical hit ready. And as you see right here, I got 2 hits in, so it decreased it 2 seconds to 13 seconds. So yeah, anytime you have a critical hit ready, there'll be a little ring around your crosshair. Alright, so now the last seconds, Dooku's lightning recharges 4 seconds faster. So as you'll see in this first clip, the normal time is 14 seconds. And when you have this card equipped, it goes down 4 seconds to 10 seconds. And it does feel like it comes back pretty quick when you have this card. So this is really nice because I know for me, Dooku's lightning is my favorite ability for him. So this will be, I might try this card out myself. I've never tried it before, but yeah, it makes the lightning come back like really quick, it seems. So pretty good card for them. Now on to Masterful Duelist. This is kind of like Anakin's Massive Strikes, but for Dooku's Duelist. And it already does an insane amount of damage, but it just makes it even more deadly. As you saw, it took 6 swings to the front to kill Anakin. And this is with Masterful Duelist. It takes a whole less swing, it only takes 5. So I went ahead and made like a chart, like I usually do for damage. That shows people in the graph as people who are affected. It takes 1 less swing, and then people on the right there aren't affected, so you can pause and look at that. Okay, so Dominance was the other card for Dooku that was really challenging to test. So ahead and pause. You're going to want to pause on these because this is a lot of information. I basically just am showing you before the tests kind of what each damage or what each test is doing. So what I found was this card doesn't, this card doubles the extra damage when they're exposed, if that makes sense. So you normally, like just with a normal swing, it dealt 130 damage. When you exposed them, it added 26 damage. And then with dominance equipped in this third test and it exposed, it doubled the 26 damage to 52. So it dealt 182 damage. Alright, last card. Balanced Duelist, his other Duelist card. This is similar to Last Seconds, but just for his Duelist. So it decreases it from 13 seconds to 9 seconds, and again decreased by 4 seconds. So this is really nice since Duelist, you swing faster and you do more damage, especially if you're using him against like troopers. This brings his damage enough to kill troopers once, except for like heavies obviously, but most troops die in one hit from Duelist. So if you use this card and then also like initiative, you pretty much have like 1-hit kills most of the time. So this is a nice card. You can always pretty much have Duelist ready. So I'm going to be covering 4 different setups. The first one is Lightning Setup, and so this one is going to have Last Seconds, Blind Spot, and Finesse. And the reason I chose these 3 was because Last Seconds, you'll be able to use Lightning more often. Blind Spot, as you saw from the test, you can kind of surprise people if they're like to the side of you or you're not exactly looking at them. You can still hit them with Lightning. And I threw in Finesse because a lot of times, since his Lightning doesn't have that much range, Finesse does give you more blocking stamina, so it can help you kind of like deflect bullets and get closer to enemies and cover ground, because you have more blocking stamina. So that's why I threw in Finesse with the Lightning cards. So the second setup I want to recommend is the Duelist Setup, and this one is going to be focused on getting the most out of the Duelist ability. So the 2 Duelist cards, so Balanced Duelist, because you'll be able to use Duelist more often. Masterful Duelist, because you'll just melt people with how quickly you can put out damage. And then I threw in Finesse again because you'll be able to do more Duelist strikes, 8 more, since you'll have more stamina. And Duelist is still like normal stamina, so I think Finesse really complements the 2 Duelist cards here. The third setup is the Exposed Weakness setup, and this one is going to be really high damage. I've seen some people use this in like Heroes versus Villains because you can just like 2-shot people. So I do want to say this setup, I didn't throw in Superiority just because that you can substitute 1 card from the setup for Superiority if you'd like. It's definitely a good card, it's not useless, but I think this setup here is just really, the cards really work good together. So this is gonna just make him a damage machine. So what you're gonna want to do is Dominance, which obviously is a weakness card. They'll just take a lot of damage when they're exposed, and that's damage from anybody, not just Dooku. So yeah, Dominance, Masterful Duelist, because your strikes with your lightsaber when you hit them when they're weak will deal more damage too, and Initiative, because you'll get that extra critical strike every 15 seconds. So if you have initiative saved up and you expose someone and do Duelist with these cards, they'll die in like 2 to 3 hits. It's insane. So yeah, that's the weakness setup I have. And then lastly, this is just going to be a passive setup, no abilities, just lightsaber duels. So for this, think of this like if Obi-Wan mind tricks you, you'll still get the most out of your cards. So for this, you'll just want to use Finesse for more stamina, Initiative because you'll get critical hits every 15 seconds and reduced if you get successful lightsaber hits, and then Sith Control, just because he is a little bit slower and he has to be close to enemies, so if you take a lot of damage trying to run around the map, you can recover 120 more with this card. So those are the 4 setups that I recommend trying out for Dooku. Well, that pretty much wraps up this Dooku card breakdown. So the only person I still need to do left for lightsabers is just Vader. I've done everybody else, so I will do my best to have the Vader one sometime in the next month or 2, hopefully sooner than 2 months, but sometime in that period I'll release the Vader breakdown. Yeah, and then if you guys want me to do like blaster heroes after I'm done with the Vader one, I'd be willing to do that. I don't really have any plans for what to do once I'm done with all the card breakdowns, so just leave comments for suggestions you guys have. I've also had a few requests for like maybe my favorite cards for each person, or I've also had requests to do like my favorite heroes ranked and stuff, and I would love to do those videos. The reason I haven't done them is mainly just because there's so many other YouTube channels where they rank like the heroes they like and the cards, like use these cards. So I never thought to like that would be something unique to try and do, but if people really want that, I can definitely do that once I'm done with the Vader one. So again, just let me know in the comments. That's the best way for me to know what to do, and stay tuned. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys all have a great Christmas. Thanks everyone.